I'm gonna give you 8 exercises to improve distance cycling, and we're gonna start right now. One of the best things that I think I've seen when I've been at the Olympics, when I've coached at 10 different world championships, when I've helped athletes and coaches develop their comprehensive programs, is that they always need a really good warm-up, and especially endurance athletes struggle with a dynamic warm-up. They're always doing the exact same thing over and over again, which is perfectly fine, but I'm gonna give you guys a really good warm-up to start off with, and we're not even gonna count this inside of those 8 exercises. We'll count it as just 1 exercise. So my favorite way to warm up, and I think that what we can do with distance cycling is think about first, warm up with some proprioception work, warm up with some shakiness, so it's that unstable position. So here we're gonna get on the PVC pipes, and we're gonna walk here about 15 yards, okay? We're gonna go back and forth. We're trying to loosen up our ankles, loosen up our Achilles, try and stretch that out, and try to get really stable. Try and get your neural drive to wake up. Get that heart rate to start to elevate so that you warm up effectively. And this could take you like a minute to a minute and a half. I think that's another thing, is that when we're thinking about warming up, oftentimes the roadblock for a lot of younger athletes is that they just don't want to spend the time. So if we can make this an effective warm-up that you really only have to go through 1 or 2 sets, then that's gonna optimize their time. So we'll start off with that PVC pipe. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna get into some stability work. And when we're on a bike, I like to think about having that trunk control. You know, not being super, super loose, but being stable and holding a good position. Now, after we go from that proprioceptive work, that unstable ground, I wanna try and hold a stable position. So we're gonna be in a split squat position here. I've got our band, and we're gonna hold the power elastic right here, and I wanna rotate all the way back here and try and feel that squeeze without falling all over the place. So we'll go here, back, here, back, here, back. And you're gonna feel that through that glute. We wanna do both sides. Try to wake up that thoracic spine here. Oh yeah, that feels good. Like this. So we can do like 6 to 7 reps on each side in that split squat position. Try and hold that stable. Don't be crazy wobbly, okay? Just hold that nice stable position. The next movement is gonna start to get a little bit more dynamic, and we're gonna actually provide you a really cool version of this next exercise. This is where we just wanna get into here, an RDL into a hip lock position. Here, come up. Here, back up. Here, back up. That's our left leg, right? We wanna make sure we're doing both legs. Again, 1 to 2 sets. This should be really, really key. Oh, right there it is. To making sure that your hips are loose, your lower back, your hamstrings, and most importantly, that trunk, that core, okay? All through there. Now, we work through those 3 exercises. We're starting to loosen up that back quite a bit. We're starting to feel pretty limber. Now, we start to add in a little bit more dynamic movement. Doesn't need to be super, super intense, but just something to really grease those joints there, okay? So we're gonna go bouncing, jump lunges, and it's easy, Here, boom, boom, boom. Just like a little hop, go, little hop, go, little hop, go. That's gonna really start to trigger everything that you need to start to be able to put a lot of force into the bike, into the pedal. And then finally, the last 2 movements are going to be something in a full range to open up those hips. So we'll get here, and we can do duck walks forward, duck walks backwards. And then the last thing that we're gonna do is gonna be just duck hops. All right, so we're here, boom, forward and backward. So you go back, you start with the PVC pipe, get into a split squat position with a rotation, then you get into the RDL to the hip lock, then you get into the bouncing lunges, after the bouncing lunges, the duck walk forward, duck walk backward, duck hops. I think this is a fantastic warm-up for almost any single sport, but it's also something easy that distance cyclists can do in about 10 minutes before they get on the saddle. Okay, so we're gonna show you an awesome progression to a movement that we sort of demonstrated and we led into in our warm-ups. This exercise, I believe, is one of the best for cyclists when they're getting out of the saddle and they're starting to climb a hill. So we can start this exercise. I'm gonna demonstrate this using our single leg pad here. And this is an awesome tool that we have that we use just as a target point for our ranges of motion, for comfort, anything along those lines. So we're gonna get set here, and I'm gonna hold this position All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cheat and push a little bit from that back foot and come up. So let's say we do this for 2 reps here. The next thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna go through and we're gonna still cheat a little, we're gonna push and come up, and now we're gonna hold this hip lock position here. We wanna have that trunk control. We go down, come back up. Okay, so something like this, I'm gonna get into the entire movement, but this is what we do in our strength training at Peak Strength. We lay out these programs specific to sports using progressions like this to help you guys get stronger. Now, the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the eccentric, the down position here to try and wake up my muscle. And I'm still gonna use that foot to come back through, okay? Down, 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 now I'm through. So something like this, again, when you're inside Peak Strength, you're gonna see a video. The video is gonna demonstrate, there's gonna be technique notes to help you comprehend how to execute this movement. And then there's gonna be reps and sets and even a rest timer to help you process what you need to do inside of your training. And then finally, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna actually keep this back foot up. Okay, so the back foot is up. I'm coming through here, back down. Notice it doesn't touch, back up. So that's a really, really good progression. And then the last awesome part here is when we start to load it. And I think that one of the biggest things that we do inside of our strength program is that we have metrics, we have benchmarks, we have goals, we have measurements, okay? With every single exercise, there's gotta be a measurement. And in this case, that can be that band. So we're gonna use a power elastic band. We're gonna get set. We're gonna be in a skater squat position. I'm gonna drive up as though I'm getting off the seat and I'm putting a ton of force into that left foot. Okay, so I'm gonna be here. Ton of force into that pedal. Okay, ton of force in that pedal, right in my left foot. And we can hold that. We can do that for like 5 sets of 5 on each leg. That's gonna help us lead into developing that strength and that trunk control. Okay, so 35% of you said we've got to focus on lunges. We just showed you that skater squat. So a progression now that we can use as we're getting into the next 2 movements is that we can do a simple lunge. So we can go here, back and forth. This is almost like a drop lunge. Okay, this is easy, right? Now, the next thing I can do is go here, come back up. Here, come back up. Now, you see what I just did? I almost crossed myself up on that position driving back. This is where the dynamic trunk control comes into play when we're being on the bike. If we can think about, and a lot of people will say, really just adding in this twist, is that hard? Just try it right now. You're sitting in your living room, wherever you are watching this, try it and try and execute it without screwing up that drive back. And then what ends up happening is you start to feel it, you start to learn it, you start to get educated, your body starts to feel stronger in those positions, and then you can lead into doing a rotating lunge with some weight. When you're training a younger athlete, or if you're a younger athlete training, try to do those rotational lunges with just body weight. And then we can get into boom, 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 boom. Here. And think about this too. Oh, there we go, that felt nice. As we're building through this, this is similar to that warm-up position where we were in the split doing the banded rotations. So when you're warming up, try to feel those positions and try to feel how they're gonna carry over to what we're trying to accomplish. We know that when we're riding, it's a lot of quads. It's even a lot of calves to a point, okay? Glutes, if we're leaning forward and we have that hip flexion, okay, at least glute max can be brought in there. So we've got to work through all of those different muscles and use unique movements that will help us provide that stable position on the bike and a lot of force into the pedal. Now, the next progression, after we hit those skater squats, right? We did the skater squats and the hip lock. Then what did we do? We did the rotating lunges. We did a simple lunge, then a rotating lunge. Then we did a rotating lunge with a plate. Now, I think every single freaking cyclist should be mastering this movement. And you could do this on the front and you can do this on the back. We are trying to target the crap out of your quads, out of your glutes, out of your hamstrings even. And we're trying to build the trunk control over a long period of time. We can do this with a large amount of weight if we're further out from a competition and we need to just have a more consistent power output. Distance cyclists, you guys are doing the long, slow distance work. You guys are doing all the endurance-based work. This is where we're gonna get a little bit stronger. We can also try and push this to like doubles and triples. Okay, this movement is freaking awesome. Now, I wanna do a single leg squat. I mentioned earlier, this is our single leg pad that we use here at Garage Strength. You can see it's well worn. We use it every single day with our athletes. We use this as the placement for our back foot. Okay, we get in this position here. Gosh, that feels so nice. And I'm gonna have this foot a little bit tighter. Think about being on the bike with the pedal placement. We're not here. We're a little bit more narrow. That's where the quads come in. So we're here, boom, boom, boom. Okay, we have a target point, so we have the depth, and then we have an area that's comfortable here, so we're more stable, and we execute higher quality reps. Finally, that's where we're gonna build into the bar, okay? And we're actually gonna have some weight on the bar. So we'll go here. All right, so we did those skaters, did the lunges, now we're here. And I wanna keep that front foot tight. Again, you can do that for sets of 10, build that up, okay? You can do that for triples, try and get a little bit stronger, try and get a little bit heavier. And then that's gonna keep helping us roll when we're on the bike. It's gonna help us with our climb. It's gonna help us with that top end speed. Okay, so this is a great exercise. If we think about having strength endurance, or even if we're a little bit further out from a big race and we want to get as strong as freaking possible, you can load the crap out of a sled and it's gonna help putting force into the ground or into the pedal. So we'll get into a position here, and this is almost similar to that skater squat position where we're gonna get into that hip lock. We think about driving, 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 driving. Okay, so we can do this for like 15 yards. Think about good force, and one big factor too is make sure that that ankle's rigid. We're even gonna give you an ankle exercise, a calf exercise, because I think that's something that a lot of you guys tend to miss in your programming, which is why you should head over to peakstrength.app. Now, I'm gonna pull backwards. I want to be squatting just a little bit here, and I'm gonna feel this a ton in my quads. So I'm gonna go back the same distance that I covered on the push. And then we're gonna get set and we're gonna drive back. The big aspect here is that depending upon your time of year relative to a comp, you have to identify your goals. Do you wanna go heavy on this exercise? Do you wanna focus more on strength endurance? That's the biggest thing that we do inside of our strength training app, Peak Strength. We lay out that periodized program based off of your peak date, based off of your competition date. You're gonna set that competition date, and you're gonna set the date of when you're gonna start your training, and then you will get a program built around everything that you need to be a successful cyclist. So head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store, download Peak Strength today, get in there, start to play around with these unique movements, and start to blow up those freaking quads. Now, we did a lot of quad work and some posterior chain. We're gonna get into that muscle group I just mentioned, the calves, to help you on the bike. Okay, so we talked about doing a lot of quad stuff, and we talked about doing a ton of even posterior chain work if you're thinking about the single legs. Now, I mentioned the calf. I think that is sort of like an area of low-hanging fruit. You will get fatigued, especially when you're climbing, and you can just get a little bit more power output. I equate the calf and the ankle joint for somebody on the bike. We've got our safety squat bar, and I don't even need to hold this. Okay, I can hold here if I need that for actual stability. And then one thing I want to add in is that if we're doing a calf raise on a plate like I'm doing right now, I want to do it in a flex position. Okay, I want to keep it pretty similar to the position I would be on the bike. Okay, now that's one way that we can do this. That feels good. Now, I'm going to rack that, and I'm going to show you a little variation. I'm going to take this weight off, okay? I'm going to come over here. I'm gonna stay on this. Take this weight off, and I'm gonna get in position now with one leg. So I'm here, up, and I wanna stay bent. Okay, and we can do that. And work through both ankle joints unilaterally or bilaterally. They're both excellent. I would do this like 4 sets of 17 each leg, 4 sets of 17 total. It's gonna blow up your calves. Okay, the last thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna get into an exercise that is pretty challenging, and I know a lot of you guys don't like to lift weights. I know you like to avoid them, but this will help with your biking. okay? It's going to help you get stronger. It's gonna help with that bone density, okay? That's one thing we also do have to acknowledge, is that when you're on the bike, there's not a lot of force into the ground, so your bone density wouldn't be as high as, say, someone who is a distance runner or even a sprinter. So I do think that we have to look at the health benefits of lifting weights as regard to bone density. If we have more bone density, we have greater power output because we're gonna typically have stronger muscles, and this is going to help us with our performance. Now, the last exercise is a hard one. It can be very beneficial, and it's going to be a front squat. And so I'm gonna demonstrate with like the classic bodybuilder stance here, or bodybuilder grip. And you can do this with a zombie grip, which would be straight out. You can do it with a clean grip. You can do it with the bodybuilder. Here, I'm gonna get into position and I'm gonna squat. And notice there's a plate right behind me, right there it is. So first, I'm gonna show you with a normal front squat position. You could just start here. And we wanna stay focused on that trunk right there. Now, I really like going heels elevated with a little bit more narrow stance, full range of motion. So I can go here. One more. If I'm going to use front squats in a strength training program for distance cycling, which you would see if you downloaded Peak Strength, that's how I would do them. And I would do them for like 5 sets of 3, 5 sets of 5. Not even that heavy though. You can just get comfortable with that movement. Try to use them to build that core strength, build that leg strength. It's gonna help you become a better cycler. Because remember, freaks, if you wanna become a champion, you've always gotta cultivate your power. Peace.